And whenever you're ready.
This is part 3 in a series on common mistakes that employers make that get them into trouble. As I've said before, I've been in practice for 38 years, and employment law is a big part of my practice, and I've seen every kind of lawsuit that can come down the pike and been in the trenches. My mission now is to keep the employers out of the courtroom and out of trouble by being proactive and taking care of their business the way they should up front. One of the other big mistakes that get employers in trouble is trying to treat the people who work for them as independent contractors instead of employees. And I've heard the argument so many times, well, if I do that, I don't have to pay employment taxes, I don't have to worry about health insurance or other benefits. Well, that may sound like a good idea up front, but if you have improperly classified someone and you're audited by the Department of Labor, the IRS, or the Texas Workforce Commission, and they find that the person should have been treated as an employee, you're going to have to pay all of back employment taxes, penalties, and interest. And if there was overtime or other wage and hour violations that you didn't take care of properly, then you'll be subject to liability for double the overtime as a penalty or fine. And if it ends up being a lawsuit over that issue, then you'll end up paying a plaintiff's attorney's fees and your own defense costs in addition. There are a list of about 20 factors that the IRS, Texas Workforce Commission, and the Department of Labor all pretty much recognize as requirements to classify somebody as an independent contractor. And it's very rare that any of those agencies is going to find that somebody who works for you, that takes direction from you, that pretty much works the schedule you tell them to do and doesn't work for anybody else, is not an employee. So you go into it with the given that unless it's a real unusual situation, your worker should be treated as an employee. I had just this last week, I had a client come in that told me she had somebody working for her as an independent contractor, and immediately my antenna went up and went, uh-oh. We talked about it some, and a lot of the factors, she did work at her business from 8 to 5, and she was assigned clients or patients, and there were several factors that indicated she probably should be treated as an employee. But one key factor that kind of tipped the scales the other way was that this worker was free to do other jobs on the side and to do work for herself. So that probably was one significant factor that might have allowed this employer to treat the lady working for us an independent contractor. And that's a significant factor in a lot of these cases for clients that I've represented through the years. But if you end up being the subject of an audit by the Department of Labor, the Texas Workforce Commission, it's a scary thing, and you want to avoid it if at all possible. So if you're an employer and you're thinking about calling somebody an independent contractor, I highly suggest you get with employment counsel and seriously evaluate whether you're going to be able to meet that test or not. Much better to determine that up front and make sure you do it right than having to pay the penalties at the back end.